Hello, I'm Michael Douglas, the editorial page editor of the Akron Beacon Journal. We're in the former home of the Seiberling family, a family whose members made many significant but vastly different contributions to their city, region, country, and the world for that matter. I first met Congressman John F. Seiberling on Capitol Hill in the fall of 1983. I was new to the newspaper business, sent by my boss to make the rounds of the local congressional delegation. Little of that conversation remains with me, except for that first impression. He struck me as confident, engaged, keen, and knowing. Yet there was something playful in his demeanor. He was on to it all. He was in his element. I tried to piece together what Seiberling had on his schedule, or what was really on his mind. Perhaps he was in the midst of one of his signal achievements, securing wilderness areas, patiently, persistently, state by state, carefully negotiating, balancing interests, yet keeping his eye on that first purpose, preserving the country's natural heritage for future generations.
I seriously and strongly believe that it is important to our future well-being as a people to have the maximum number able to go to beautiful natural areas when they feel like it, and not have to just do it once every 20 years or maybe never, as would be the case if we only had a few grand parks like the Smoky Mountains and Yellowstone, etc.
John had a sort of a nice goofy streak from childhood to slowly moving into the political concerns.
It was in John Seiberling's blood. He loved the wilderness.
And he talks about seeing the lands, and I get overwhelmed just thinking about it, as it emerged from the hands of the Creator.
And I often marveled at his patience and his energy. I mean, just never seemed to tire out.
But remember, he's part of this group that had been dubbed the greatest generation. He was a World War II veteran. And so I guess I extend it to another word. He was a patriot. Now, people can disagree with what he thought was in the best interest of the country. But I think his fundamental approach was he was going to do what was good for the country, whether people liked it or not.
Not very many people know that John Seiberling wrote the final word on impeachment regarding President Nixon.
I often think when I hear the news and see what is going on in Washington now, the first thought that comes to my head is John would be so enraged by all of this.
The summer of 2012 marked the 20th anniversary of a partnership made possible by the changes in Germany described in this film. Leipzig University and Ohio University became educational partners in 1992 and since then have implemented exchange programs for German and American students. Greetings from Ohio University. I'm Carrie Kabilius. Join me as we trace the development of travel to East Germany from the period of the GDR, or German Democratic Republic, and the fall of the Berlin Wall to the present time. Leipzig is an ideal location for the focus of this topic. Leipzig was at the crossroads of two international trade routes, which established it as a major hub for European culture.
Leipzig is a very diverse city. It's a city that's been here for over 1,000 years already.
You felt like you were in an exciting place at an exciting time. It was great.
In 1989, really there was a whole generation of people who had, in East Germany, who had never experienced democracy firsthand. You have to remember that there were 12 years of Nazi rule, and then following World War II in the East, it was another 40 years of communist rule, authoritarian rule.
When you're a kid, you're not aware that's a political thing. It's like that. You grow up with that.
The memory of the German Democratic Republic is persistent in the minds of the people who lived in the former East Germany. This era separated East Germany from West Germany.
Das ist jetzt eine sehr große, eigentlich auch intensive Geschichte. Die Rolle der Kirche in der DDR war eigentlich die, dass sie im Grunde genommen der einzige Raum war, geschützter Raum, wo Menschen offen und ehrlich ihre Sorgen und Anliegen aussprechen konnten, die sie an keiner anderen Stelle auch sagen durften. Also es gab ja in der DDR keine freie Meinungsäußerung, keine Pressefreiheit, Reisefreiheit so und so nicht. Aber in den Kirchen wurden Räume geschaffen, wo die Menschen mal wirklich sagen konnten, was ihnen auf den Nägeln brannte, was ihnen Mühe machte und wo sie ihre Sorgen hatten.
This program is made possible in part by a grant from the Ohio Humanities Council, a state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. In June 2006, Knight Ridder Newspapers, under pressure from corporate investors, was sold for $4.5 billion. With that transaction, Knight Ridder, one of the most highly regarded names in newspaper publishing, passed into history. Today, other metropolitan newspapers stand on the verge of collapse, battered by advertising and circulation losses and the growth of the internet. Dozens of newspapers have folded, throwing thousands out of work and leaving communities without a local news voice. It's not what the owners of Knight Ridder envisioned only a few decades ago, when profits were high and times were good. This is the story of the rise and fall of Knight Ridder newspapers. But really it is the story of journalism, according to Jack and Jim Knight.
The Knights really split up the business side and the editorial side. Other papers had local publishers, and some papers had one single driving element.
He thought of himself much more as an editor than he did as an owner, but he was good at both. He was masterful at buying papers at the right time and for prices that today would be regarded as ridiculous.
And he said to me once, I will never let anything appear under my name in the masthead that would in any way embarrass the Knight name.
And I detest the concept of running anything by meetings. I don't understand that. I belong to the Hey Joe school. I pick up the first edition of the Beacon Journal in the morning and I see something. I run up in the newsroom and say, hey Joe, for Christ's sake, get that straightened out. I like that.
John S. Knight was the son of Akron, Ohio, born into an era of journalism that represented local ownership and civic pride. He was a journalist who enjoyed business as much as politics. His brother James was his partner, dedicated to the business side of operations, and together they created a great communication empire. And it all started here at the Akron Beacon Journal.
Ben bir şeyda bülbül gibi güldür figanım benim.
The program started kind of on a whim. I'm working on my PhD in higher education administration, and I wanted to get some international experience.
İyi bir liderin bütün renkleri müsaade edip ancak bunları beyaza dönüştürebilecek özelliklerde bir lider olması gerektiğine inanıyorum. Buraya bazı sloganlar da yazdım. Amerika'daki bu eğitimden bize yeni bir boyut, yani yeni bir boyut göstermesini, bakış açısı sergilemesini bekliyorum.
On my own, pretending he's beside me. כאן ביתי פה אני נולדתי, במישור אשר על שפת הים. כאן החברים איתם גדלתי, ואין לי שום מקום אחר בעולם. I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life was living.
Memories may be beautiful and yet what's too painful to remember? We simply choose to forget. So it's the laughter we will remember when we remember. Yes, the way we were, the way we were.
What don't I miss? I don't miss the congestion, the traffic, the people who are all wound up all the time. It got to be very stressful in the Bay Area, just surviving in the Bay Area. Also, the high cost of living was hard to deal with too. In terms of commuting to the Bay Area from Nevada County, that's got to be a killer. It's got to be just a real tough thing to do, though I certainly understand why people do it. My second daughter, Casey, she is currently 15 years old. She's going to be a junior in high school. She's very involved in her music. She plays oboe for the high school band. She's also involved in marching band, and this year will be pit captain for the Nevada Union High School marching band. Actually even stopped at a couple schools and talked to some of the people in the office and said, what's it like to live here? How is it for the kids to go to school here? What are the options that the kids have? What is it about the community that you like? And so we did a lot of investigation.